Diversity, equity, and inclusion believers in Minnesota are fighting back. Thanks for tuning in to Breaking the News tonight. I'm Janice Shortle. When the Trump administration told public schools DEI must DIE or lose money, it didn't seem like anyone could afford to fight. But then Minnesota's Department of Education commissioner made a decision. Ian, is he going where few have dared to go?
Well, Jana, that's what it seems like right now as Commissioner Willie Jett pushed back against that requirement. The MDE and Jett have now responded to that requirement from the U.S. Department of Education, saying that they don't have the authority to unilaterally overrule the will of Congress.
In the Fridley public school system, crunch time feels just a bell away.
This is the time in public education across the United States that we do our budgets.
Approvals for those are needed in the next few months, and like many districts, there's a lot to consider.
It's about ensuring that their needs are met.
For Superintendent Brenda Lewis, that includes federal dollars, a mainstay for a district of roughly 3,000 students.
70% of our students are living in poverty that we know.
In total, the district gets more than $1 million from the federal government to help support their learners. It's roughly 7% of Fridley's budget. If those funds go away, Lewis puts it simply,
It's unconscionable. Really it is.
And right now, not impossible. The U.S. Department of Education sent this letter out in February outlining that discrimination based on race, color, or national origin is illegal. That letter, written by Acting Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights Craig Traynor, goes on to say that educational institutions have toxically indoctrinated students and that institutions that fail to comply with federal civil rights law may face potential loss of federal funding.
I don't think the timing of that letter was not intentional.
The U.S. DOE then sent this memo on April 3rd, requiring certification from state or local education agencies that they follow Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act and not use DEI programs to advantage one's race over another. Continued use of those programs would see the elimination of federal funding.
I knew in my mind that that letter was coming, but you feel it in your heart when it arrives.
Minnesota Department of Education, or MDE Commissioner Willie Jett, sent this letter saying it served as the department's response. Jett says that this looks to change the terms and conditions of federal financial assistance given to MDE without formal administrative process, and that the U.S. Department of Education doesn't have the authority to unilaterally overrule the will of Congress.
And I see my students in Fridley Public Schools represented in his points that he made in that letter.
Lewis says the state's pushback does give her pause, now unsure if those federal dollars will be around.
Does it give me worry as a superintendent? Yes, it does. However, I am far less worried given the board that I have the pleasure of serving, as well as working in the state of Minnesota. I think other states, it's just a different reality.
Now, I did reach out to the State Department of Education and Commissioner Jett just to see what the next steps are, but I was told he was unavailable today, Jana.
So, worst case scenario, let's go to Fridley. What happens if federal funds were taken? What would that district do, for example?
Well, I mean, as we talked about, this is such a huge time right now for budgets for districts
Right.
all across the state. It's a huge thing for them. She said that her recommendation to their school board there would be to not make cuts to their staff. She told me they are so vital and so important there, and saying that their students can't afford to lose those educators, telling me that their students' trajectories in life are at stake. So obviously just a huge loss for them. I mean, 7% of their budget is no laughing matter.
Right, but to say that it's against the will of Congress, we may see another lawsuit. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Ian. Appreciate it.